Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in today's second video. We're going to have a look at the weather next week to 10 days. For today's second video, which takes you on the 23rd of July. And we'll be able to extend out beyond that as usual with the extended GFS and ECM ensembles, which run to around a couple of weeks. And of course have a look at the CFS V2 for the next month as well, as we usually do. I'm going to start off bringing an update with what's happening in the Gulf of Mexico in terms of Tropical Storm Barry. So, again, I'm up for you very shortly. Just to say that the first video release today was weekend forecast, so it's going to be a week or two halves, really starting off quite settled, a lot of dry weather up to around the middle of the week, and it turns more unsettled as we get through to the second half of the week and up to next weekend. So have a look at weekend forecast and see what's going on there. Tonight, I think I have a little look at Camp Festival. It's 2 weeks away. It's a long way off, but I've been asked by a couple of people about it already. So why not have a look at that tonight? Right, let's start off with what's happening in the tropics, though. So we have our two disturbance areas of interest. Of course, we've got Tropical Storm Barry just there, and then we've got this yellow X over here. Let's deal with yellow X first of all. That's not doing very much, but we'll start off with that. It's disturbance 1. It's got a 10% chance of cyclone formation in the next 48 hours. National Hurricane Center are saying a tropical wave located about midway between the Cabo Verde Islands and the Windward Islands continues to produce intermittent showers. Environmental conditions appear to be unfavourable for the formation of a tropical depression and development, if any, of the wave will be slow to occur while it moves westwards at 15 to 20 miles an hour during the next couple of days. Formation chance, so tropical storm formation chance, is low in the next 2 days, just 10%, and it's also low in the next 5 days at just 10% as well. So we don't need to worry too much about that one at the moment, just something to keep an eye on. Of course, more interestingly is Tropical Storm Barry now moving on to the Louisiana coast of the Gulf. So, Tropical Storm Barry is currently giving maximum sustained winds of 70 miles an hour. It has a minimum central pressure of 991 millibars, and it's moving northwest at around 5 miles per hour. Let's see the latest forecast track for Barry, and there's its current position as of 7 a.m. on Saturday today. So it's just moving on to the Louisiana coast now, this tropical storm, and it's forecast now to say as a tropical storm. It's not forecast to go up to hurricane. So it's been one of these things that's just been on a knife edge between like a tropical storm and getting to a category 1 hurricane. At the moment they're saying it stays as a tropical storm, which we can see from these S's, before, by the time we get through to tomorrow afternoon, Sunday afternoon, it's down to a tropical depression. I suppose it's possible that for an hour or two this afternoon or this evening it might go up to hurricane status. But basically this looks like it's going to remain as a tropical storm moving northwards, heading through Louisiana, producing really strong winds, obviously, and copious amounts of rain. More on that in a moment. I mean, it heads northwards into Arkansas by the time we get through to early Monday as a tropical depression, and then it carries on further north to there on Tuesday. It goes post-tropical. The further inland it goes, the more it loses its identity, of course. So it is giving very strong winds, this, and there will be a storm surge associated with it. But also a lot of heavy rain. This is the rainfall forecast from Tropical Storm Barry over the next 7 days. Of course, most of this is going to fall like in a 1 or 2 day period. And you see quite widely across this sort of area just here, we're kind of like going up to 10 inches of rain. But where we've got this red area just here, that's down towards the Gulf Coast, of course. This is the Gulf Coast. That's the Gulf Coast of Texas there. That's the Gulf Coast of Louisiana there, and so on. Near that coastal area of Louisiana, we're kind of like going up to 10 to 15 inches of rain with this system, which is getting on for around 400 millimeters. And as I say, most of this is going to fall like in a 1, 2, 3 day period, a very short space of time. So devastating flooding could well be the main story with this, both from rainfall and through storm surges around that coastal area as well. Very, very nasty feature, Tropical Storm Barry, battering that Gulf Coast of Louisiana right now, right as we speak. So let's hope everyone there stays safe. Coming back close to home, this is how things are looking in terms of the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensemble. So the red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for London. We're starting off close to average at the moment. We're going to stay close to average over the next few days as well. So for the next week, really, upper air temperature staying quite close to long-term averages, as it has been with these ensemble charts for quite a few days now, going to extended range, which almost takes us up to month's end, but not quite. In the extended range, we do see this warming trend. We have got several hot, even very hot outliers now starting to appear. These ones up here are kind of going back to 20 degrees at 850 HPA. Again, extreme heat would be pulled up into the UK. In terms of the upper air temperatures, anyway, as we saw back at the end of June, extreme hot upper air temperatures don't necessarily means extreme hot surface temperatures. But from an upper air temperature perspective, certainly it does look as though things are getting a lot hotter with those outlier members. And then we've got these ones down here, and this is more like where the cluster is actually. So they're not as extreme with the upper air temperatures, but they are going hot. It does include the operational GFS run as well in a moment, which I'll show you in a moment. You can see how the white line, which is the ensemble mean, that also moving up. So obviously we've got a warming trend appearing here for the final week of July. So we've still got big questions about this final week of July. Yesterday I was really about ready to throw in the towel on the chance of the last week of July turning hotter, but now looking at that ensemble chart, it does look as though it could be very much game on for the chance of some hotter weather in the last week of July. This last week of July proving very, very uncertain indeed. We can't discount these cool outlier members though down here, and so with so much scatter going on, I mean, between the coolest and warmest ensemble members, the coolest are down here. The hottest member is that one up there. So, I mean, there's over a 20-degree temperature differential between the hottest and coolest members, outliers, in this last week of July. So very, very uncertain, but the trend definitely seems to be there. There's a growing possibility, anyway, that the last week of July might turn quite a lot hotter. We can't say any more than that, really. Precipitation-wise, a lot of dry weather coming up over the next few days. Second half of the coming week will turn much more unsettled, showers, longer spells of rain. And then this period just here, we have got quite a few precipitation spikes in that period, but of course it's associated with all of this uncertainty. So I think we just have to discount that for the last week of July. There are so many options on the table, so much up the grabs that last week of July, but I don't think we take the precipitation in that part of the ensemble graph all that seriously. Temperature anomalies from the 13th to 21st of July are very close to average, a little bit below average probably, if anything, for England and Wales anyway, but it's not a big deviation. Most places coming out very close to average with temperatures, and precipitation anomalies again looks drier than average in the north, maybe hinting at being a little bit wetter than average for southeastern parts of the country. I'm not sure what's causing that really, but that's what it's showing. Not a big deviation anywhere though. I think overall on the drier than average side for the next week. Right, so this is how the GFS is looking for Tuesday. This is all covered by weekend broadcast, of course. So Tuesday, we just see a bit of an erosion of high pressure. It starts to turn a little bit more unsettled into the middle part of the week. And then in the second half of the week, it does turn really quite unsettling. Low pressure starts to come in off the Atlantic. That will bring showers or longer spells of rain in from the west, and we would turn wet even down in the south and southeast, where it is pretty parched at the moment down in the extreme south. Even there by Friday there could be some outbreaks of rain. Saturday also looks rather showery, particularly for the north, but on Sunday, this low pressure starts to turn tail and push northwards again as a ridge begins to build down to our south. And so that swings the wind into the south by the time you get through to Monday, the 22nd of July, moving up towards day 10. You see everything's tilting round into the south. So low pressure is becoming stuck to west of Ireland, ridge of high pressure is building across Central and Northern Europe, and this starts to pull up much warmer, even hotter air from the south. That's how we look at day 10. So the heights are all pushing up towards Scandinavia then, with low pressure out to our west. That starts to drag up much warmer, even hotter air from southern Europe. There's the upper air temperatures. They're going hot there at day 10 across southern and southeastern parts of the country. And then what happens is that we build a big ridge close to the UK across the northwest of Europe in the extended range. So that's how the operational run, which we did see as part of the GFS ensembles, it was a thick green line. That's how it becomes quite hot for this last week of July. We get this big ridge from the Azores high. That's the, let's change the colour, that's the Azores high. Just there, and the Scandinavian high, we get this ridge pushing the jet stream northwards, and we start to draw in much warmer or even much hotter air from the south and the southeast. That's the kind of pattern we were stuck in through much of last summer, by the way. So could we be seeing a return of that sort of pattern as we're heading up towards the end of July? Upper air temperatures look hot for Thursday, 25th July. Remember, this is 300 hours away, so it's really unreliable stuff. And as we get towards the very end of the GFS run, actually it begins to show cooler, more unsettled conditions coming back in from the northwest. But for a while, through that last week of July, that does suggest a little bit of a heat wave, I have to say. That does look really quite hot indeed with this particular GFS run during the last week of July. Questions about this final week of July. GM looks like that, so still under a bit of a ridge on Tuesday. Should give most of us a nice day, but in the north does turn a bit more showery. And then through the middle and second half next week, it turns more unsettled. There's the low pressure coming in off the Atlantic. That brings showers or even longer spells of rain across all parts of the country. Even in the south, you get some much needed rain with that one. In the extended range, heading up towards day 10 with the GM, looks unsettled. No build of high pressure from the south, no push of hot air from the south either. So that's how we finish up at day 10, Thursday the 23rd of July, looking rather cool and showery with the GEM. So I suppose on the ensemble graph, that would probably be one of these cooler ensemble members down here. We know that the operational run is one of the hotter, operational GFS is one of the hotter runs up there. So again, it just highlights the uncertainty we've got as we're moving towards the final week of July. Let's see how the ECM is sitting with this. So again, we've got mainly dry day coming up on Wednesday, but it does turn more on Tuesday, I should say. Does turn more showery in the north. That's Wednesday, increasingly showery and unsettled. Thursday, Friday, low pressure takes over. So showers or longer spells of rain heading in from the Atlantic. Even in the south, we could get some much needed and useful rainfall. Next weekend, again, stays unsettled with low pressure in control, bringing further showers, if not longer spells of rain. And that's how we look as we get to day 10. So again, no build of pressure from the south, no push of hot air from southern Europe either. We just look rather cool and showery up to day 10 with the ECM. But what I would say about that is that the trough of low pressure is weakening and lifting out. So you'll notice heights are just generally rising around this part of the Atlantic and Europe. So heights are rising to the south, heights are rising to the west. It does look as though heights are rising to the east as well. So eventually it's possible that this low pressure, this trough here, would probably push north, although it may sink south into the southeast of Europe. But whichever way it goes, it's possible that 2 or 3 days further on, we would start to get that build of pressure. Maybe. It's possible that could happen. But again, up to day 10 anyway, it does look rather cool and showery with the ECMWF as well. These are the options that are on the table. This is the option that's on the table for day 10 within the ECM ensembles. That is the 23rd of July. It's 240 hours away. It's 51 out of 51 ECM Ensemble members, 100%, including the control and operational run, look like this. They have above average heights to the north, but also, interestingly, extending to the east and south of the UK and a little bit to the west as well. So it's what I was just talking about, really. This is the trough, or this is the remains of the trough just here. And it does appear that by day 10, that trough is weakening and just pressure's generally starting to squeeze the life out of the trough, if you like, as it's beginning to rise both to the northwest and to the south and east kind of thing. In 2 weeks' time, these are the options that we've got. So this gets us to the 28th of July, well and truly into the last week of July. What does it show? Well, we've got 22 members of the ECM ensembles with above average heights to our south and west, below average heights to our northeast. So probably rather showery with a bit of a northwesterly flow with that one. 16 have got heights rising over Scandinavia and also out to our west. Probably again bringing in a bit of a cool showery westerly flow with that one. And then there's 13 with above average heights centred over to the west of the UK. That's by far the most settled option. That's sending the jet stream northwards. And that's the warmest, driest option as we get through into the 28th of July. Probably not all that hot though. It doesn't look as though there's many members of ECM ensembles that are going genuinely hot yet through the last week of July, unlike what we see with the GFS ensembles. So there's a split both between the operational runs of these models and also a split within their respective ensemble suites as well. Let's see how the CFS is shaking out finally. So these are 500 millibar heights broken down to week periods. The first week period will take us from the 13th to the 19th of July. The coming week will have above average heights centred over to the north of the country, below average heights to our east and southeast. Lot of dry weather on offer with that one in the week ahead, albeit it does start to turn a little bit more showery as we get through to the middle and latter stages of the week. Week 2 is interesting. It's siding, CFS today is siding more with the hotter, drier idea for this last week of July. This is the anomaly from the 20th to the 26th of July. Above average height centred pretty much over the UK, a little bit to our east. That would be drawing hot, maybe even really very hot air from the south or southeast with that one. So CFS is definitely siding with the hotter, drier conditions going into that last week of July. And this continues into week 3. This is 27th of July to the 2nd of August with above average heights again centred just a little bit to our east. We'll be drawing up really warm, hot air from the south and from the southeast too with that one. And then a change for week 4. CFS is highlighting this quite regularly at the moment for a week 4 anomaly, which is a long way off. It's fairly consistent with it. 3rd to the 9th of July turns more unsettled with below average heights out to our west and obviously a return of the jet stream. So it really is looking very uncertain at the moment about this last week of July. Clearly there is potential here for the final week of July to become a lot warmer, maybe even hotter, maybe a bit of a heat wave in the last week of July. The possibility is there, but with so much variation between the models and between the ensembles of those models, I think we have to stay very cautious about it. But it does look as though after being a relatively sort of dreary month this July, it's not been a particularly exciting month at all. It does look as though the final week to 10 days could yield something quite a lot more interesting, and it's going to be fascinating to see how this evolves over the next few days. Right, so that's it for this week's 10-day video update. As I say, we'll be back tonight with a little look at Camp Festival, which is going to be the last weekend of July. Will that show a heatwave? You'll see this evening. Tomorrow, we've got Autumn Analogues coming up for you, and we'll have the Galsworthy's Sunday Roundup. That should be quite an interesting watch, I would have thought. But that's all for now, and thanks for watching.